Okay, so let's start our 50-minute practice today just on all fours. So gently coming down, ensuring that you've got something underneath the knees. Just pressing down through the heels of the hands, make sure the fingers are facing straight ahead. And we're going to inhale and extend the upper back, opening through the front of the body. Exhale, curling under, nose towards knees, tail tucks. Inhale, let's draw the shoulders back, looking forward. Exhale, round and tuck. Inhale, open through the chest. Exhale. Inhale, open through the chest. Exhale, tucking under, and with this tuck, just curl under through your toes. Look back towards your knees and make sure that your heels are exactly in line with your knees. So as you drop your hips slowly back towards your heels, we've got everything in alignment. If you've got limited range through your knees, don't go all the way, just go with a little bit of movement towards the heels and then come forward. So we're just starting to let the knee move as a hinge. Just maintaining whatever movement we have, or if we're recovering from injury and there's the ability to drop the hips towards the heels, take it there. So a little bit of tightness is okay to push through, but you don't want to push through any sharp sensations. Now, if the hips do drop to the heels, you can try uncurling the toes and pointing the toes away. And then as you drop your hips back down, keep pushing straight down into the shins. And if you get apprehension in the knees, you just stop dropping the hips down. And you can use your hands to help with that. Otherwise, if those hips do go all the way towards the heels, just take it there, rest it there. And then stack the fists one on top of the other and just rest the head down on the fists. Feel when you breathe in, you're creating some space across the back, like you're trying to breathe your shoulder blades apart. And as you exhale, let the breath release from the throat, almost like you're trying to fog up your mat with your breath. Now, if your heels are right back with your hips, just try squeezing behind the knee. So you're not actually moving out of this position. You're just giving the muscles behind the knees a little bit of a squeeze, switching on, pushing down a little bit through the top of the foot, switching on, and then letting that soften. Then we'll start to come back up onto all fours, index fingers facing straight ahead. And then see if you can bring your forearms down and keep your collarbones broad. Then as you push through your forearms, you can come up onto the shins. And then keep pushing forward through your forearms to walk your knees back. And then you can either bring the hips straight down or keep walking your arms further forward to bring the belly down. So you're finding your way all the way down into the mat with the forehead on the ground. And that little transition there where you're coming through on your forearms is a good transition to take if you're finding things like chaturanga difficult coming to the mat in, say, a flow style practice. So once we're here, we'll just tuck the chin and rest the head down on the forehead, and then you start to tap the toes. So each foot is kind of scissoring. We're breathing into the belly. And as you make this movement, just try and tune into exactly how heavy each foot is touching the ground. If you do get a little bit of clicking behind the knee or around the knee, you can stop, curl the toes under, press the heels away, Draw the kneecaps up the thighs. And this movement also helps if you're starting to cramp. Otherwise, again, we're just flossing with feet. Each foot tapping, just moving in an easy rhythm. As you rest here, think of your belly button as if it's smiling when you breathe in. And just let that relax. Then just lifting the head off the mat, breathe into your chest, push the pubic bone into the ground and just fly the hands back to hold either side of the hips. We want to bring the collarbones broad and point the elbows straight up. So as you kick down into the top of the feet here gently, keeping the pubic bone tucked, you might feel the leg muscles engage slightly, but our focus is on an upper body breath and again, inflating the upper lungs. So that's what helps to bring you into your backward bend. So we're filling the chest to rise away from the mat as opposed to trying to really jam into the glutes or the back muscles. Take a few more breaths there. Feel elbows like they're pointing up, collarbones broad, feeling the chest. Now hands coming around, try not to let the hands touch the ground. And then bring the hands down, forward down, on top of the hands. Relax the glutes, even just move the hips from side to side a little bit, allowing the back muscles to relax. Then yogis, we're going to lift the head here and bring the hands around and the elbows around to form a right angle. So the elbows are just a little bit behind the shoulders. And as I bring those hands out from underneath the head, I'm just kind of drawing a semicircle. So again, elbows are a little bit lower than the shoulders and my index finger knuckle is facing straight ahead. I'll then just relax the head down and push gently into those forearms so I feel my collarbones lift. So that very subtle forward pressure without actually going anywhere, just using the traction of your hands against the ground, rolling the index finger knuckle in to broaden through those collarbones and breathe. And it's only a little bit of pressure, okay? Now we'll lift the head up and then we're going to lift the right arm up. Make sure that the elbow drops lower than the hand. And then I'm going to squeeze my left glute to lift my left leg up. The leg doesn't lift up very high. Then everything relaxes down into the same position. Foot down, forehead down, hand down. And then I'll lift the head. I'll lift my left elbow up, making sure that my elbow is just a little bit lower than the hand. Then I'll squeeze the right glute to lift the right leg up. And again, everything's going to relax back down, head down, head up, right elbow up, left glute on, breathing in and relax. Head up, left elbow up, right glute on, breathing in and relax. Head up, right elbow up, left glute on, breathing in and relax. Head up, left elbow up, right glute on, breathe in and relax. Head up, right glute up, right arm up, left glute on, lifting up, everything down, relax. Head up, left elbow up, right glute on, breathing in and relax. Let's put the hands back in underneath the head and just shake the hips from side to side here a little bit, relaxing the lower back muscles. And then from this position, we're simply going to turn over. So just roll straight over onto your back and take the palms so that they face up either side of the hips. Keep the feet flat on the mat, but just gently push forward into your feet so that the lower back flattens. You don't have to use a lot of tension to do that. It's just a very subtle down and forward push into those heels so that the lower back is a little bit flat. Then push enough into your feet to lift the hips up. Turn palms so that they face down. Walk them in underneath the hips and then rest the hips on the back of the hands. If you've got impingement in your shoulder, this will hurt, so don't do that. Just keep your palms facing up and you'll sit this one out. Otherwise, palms, again, under the hips, facing down, legs straight ahead. And then push with your elbows just to lift the chest the tiniest bit, and then the head will spill back a tiny bit as well. So the chin's sort of facing diagonally up, but not spilled all the way back. We don't want to fold the neck in half. We just want to extend through the upper back here a little. Feel like the collarbones are broad and use the bend of the elbows to come into that. And when you come down, just let the elbows soften and you'll feel the upper back rest, the back of the head rest. And then again, we push into the elbows. It's like you're trying to avoid something sharp coming up in between the shoulder blades. So you push down through the elbows, forward through the forearms, and the head spilling back is just a result of that movement. We're not actively trying again to overextend the neck or tilt it back too high. Fill the upper chest with your breath here. The upper ribs opening like the gills of a fish, giving the name to this pose, Matsyasana, the pose of the fish. And coming down, rest the shoulders. Let's walk those hands out from underneath the hips. Soften the legs, palms facing up, relax. Then I'll just take hands up, create a little bit of a fist, and then open. And just open and close the fist with thumb inside the fingers, and then open, and then perhaps thumb outside the fingers. Just doing this a few times, both as a brain training exercise, thumbs in and thumbs out, and also to bring some chi, some blood flow back down into the hands after we've been sitting on them. And then you can just let the arms relax there also. Yogis, let's start to work into a little bit of a twist. Pop the feet on the mat and then walk them about mat width apart. We'll take the hands in underneath the head and then both knees slow like seaweed underwater fall towards the right side or one side. Just keep going towards whichever side you've begun. And again, slowly lifting both knees so that they fall in a windscreen wiper movement to the opposite side. Again, lifting the knees so that they slowly move over to one side. And again, lifting the knees so they move slowly towards the opposite side. And then just continue with that movement. The slowness of your movement, creating a bit of meditative flow. The slowness of that movement also helping to lubricate the hips and bring synovial fluid in into the back of the acetabulum, or the bowl of your hip joint. Now with your next windscreen wiper, just let the knees stay where they are. So here, I've got my knees to the right, and I'm going to breathe deeply into my left side rib cage. Hold the breath in, and then exhale to let the breath out. I'll push down with the elbows a little, then both knees fall to the opposite side. I'll soften through the upper body, keeping the knees here on the left, breathing in deeply to my right side armpit, and retain the breath. Hold it in. Exhale. Let it go. Pushing down with the elbows, both knees coming back up to center. Let's walk the feet back in underneath the knees. Take the hands back down either side of the hips. Relax the shoulders. Now bring the hands so that they face straight up. So your arms are in a robot position. And I want you to try and pull your shoulders straight down towards the ground. Now, if we pull the shoulders down with too much oomph, what will happen is the upper back and the ribs will flare. So we don't want to push so hard that that flare happens. So just push down with the elbows, down with the shoulders, just enough to hold them there, but not so much that you're really clenching into the back of the shoulders, okay? Then let that soften. And again, we just push straight down with the shoulders, the back of the shoulders, and down with the elbows. Now, notice and feel that this downward movement is straight down to the ground. It's not a downward movement of shoulders down to the feet. So we don't want to overstretch the nerves and the muscles of the upper traps by pulling the shoulders down aggressively. Again, it's just straight down to the ground. Okay, so important just to make that distinction there. Now just let that soften, but hold your shape. Now push forward into both feet so that your lower back flattens against the mat. Again, we're not pushing so hard that we're really using our glutes. You're just using the traction of your heel against the ground to flatten into that lumbar spine. Then let that soften. So your pushing softens and the low back assumes its natural curve. Now let's try those at the same time. Push down and forward through the heels so that the low back flattens and the pelvis is tilting back. And then as you exhale, push down with your shoulders, down with your elbows, and then lift your head up the tiniest bit. So you're not really looking forward, it's just in the head, just off the mat. Then let everything soften. Again, push down and forward through the heels so that the lower back comes into its neutral position. Push down with the back of the elbows, down with the back of the shoulders. Take a breath in. And as you exhale, the head just floats off the mat, the tiniest little bit. You'll feel maybe a little bit of tremoring because heads are really heavy, so it is quite difficult to hold. If you're pushing too hard with your shoulders or elbows, you won't be able to bring your head off the mat. And again, it's just enough to lift the head away. You're not lifting very much. Keep that forward pressure through the feet. Now rest the head down, let everything relax. We might straighten out through the legs here as well, and just turn the palms so that they face up. Now roll the chin towards the left shoulder. It doesn't have to push past any barrier or pinching. Then roll the head, the chin towards the right shoulder, gently and slowly. And just repeat that a couple of times. Chin just rolling to one side and then the other. So if we have some pinching or soreness in the neck and shoulders, it is important to maintain our range of movement, even if you feel like it's a little bit sore, unless there's a medical indication that requires you not doing this movement. You would know if you have it, something vascular or some kind of neurological issue, then don't do this movement. Otherwise, the healthy person with just a little bit of stiffness and tightness through the neck and shoulders, including the aging body, if there's a little bit of osteoporosis, osteopenia, any kind of degeneration, you can still do this subtle movement with the back of the head staying on the ground, the chin just rolling gently from collarbone to collarbone, quite safely, even if there is a little bit of discomfort. Then take the head back to neutral, take the palms so that they face one another again, fingers facing straight up. Draw the shoulders back down towards the mat, remember not towards your feet, just down towards the mat. And then open up through the wrists so that the palms are now facing the ceiling. And keeping a bit of a bend at your elbows, start to take the hands towards the mat. And you might feel the fingertips just touching the ground, or you might come just short of that, that's okay. Then take a nice deep breath in through the front of the collarbones. And out. And then we'll bring the palms so that they face back up in towards one another. Now grip your fingers around your thumb. And then imagine you have a can of drink and you're emptying it out. So you're going to spill your thumb side wrist down towards the ground without lifting the elbows up. So it's just a really tiny movement of tipping your thumb towards the ground with the elbows staying down on the ground. So this is an important neural stretch for conditions like de Quervain's tenosynovitis or tendonitis through the thumb sort of area. It's a really important movement for carpal tunnel or any kind of post-surgical rehab as well. So here we're starting to tension through the radial nerve. That can also become troublesome if we have to work at a computer or have repetitive strain injury. If you don't have any of that stuff going on, this will be really boring and you won't feel too much at all. But still create that movement. You'll be gaining benefits by building that neurological and kinesthetic intelligence by creating this movement. Now we're going to lift our can of drink back up and just spread the fingers nice and wide. And then I want you to just bend your knuckles. So it's like you're starting to take your hands into a fist, but you're just drawing the fingertips in, sort of like you were holding on to a pool noodle or a bar that you lift weights on. I don't even know what that's called because I never lift weights, but you're wrapping your fingers around something like you're closing your finger against something, all right? And then just let that soften, all right? So take the palms so that they face straight back up, just relax the breath. And then we're going to bring feet in underneath the knees. Take a breath in, toes face straight ahead. Now breathe out, push forward into the feet so you've got your low back flat, and then lift your arms up, elbows up, shoulders up, hands up, head up. And then keep your forward pressure in your feet as you roll your head, your hands and your shoulders back down. Breathing in, exhale, push into feet, head up, arms up, hands up, shoulders up. So it's not like a sit up. Again, it's just enough to lift those limbs. Wrist off the ground, elbows up, shoulders up, head up, and pushing down and forward into the feet. Use the stickiness of your mat. And then relax that down. Now bring the hands in behind the head. Push forward into your feet, breathe in. And as you exhale, same movement, lifting head up, lifting elbows up, lifting shoulders up. Again, it's not a really big curl like you're trying to come into a sit-up. It's the same movement we were doing before. Just enough to lift the head, just enough to lift the elbows. Forward and downward pressure through your feet. Now maintain that forward and downward pressure through the feet as you bring the head back down and relax the elbows to the side. Again, push forward into the feet, inhale, prepare, exhale, head up, elbows up. Make sure that you're not curling and tucking your chin to your chest. Try to look straight up. Push your fingers into the back of the head so that you feel a little bit of resistance, of fingers against head, head against hands, and then let that relax. If you've got impingement in your shoulders and hands behind head hurts, then come back to bringing arms by your side. Again, push into the feet, head lifts up, hands lift up, elbows off the mat. Keep the elbows a little bit bent, collarbones are soft, so you're sort of open with your arms, almost like a hug, or those hands again are in behind the head. And then relax that down. Now, yogis, we're going to bring the arms back down by our side. Push forward into the feet so that the low back flattens a little bit. And then just lift your right leg up so you're creating a tabletop with your shin. So I've got my knee exactly above my hip and my left foot pushing straight down into the ground to keep the low back supported. Now I'll bring palms so that they face one another here also. And I'll push down gently through the back of the shoulders, not shoulders down towards feet, and then the shoulders down towards the ground, elbows down towards the ground. Maintain that movement. And then let the foot soften down. Keep your arms in position, but you're no longer pushing, so you just hold your shape without any muscular activation. Then breathing in and out, pushing down and forward into the feet so the low back is flat as a neutral spine. And then just a really easy lift of the left heel off the mat, creating a tabletop movement here with that left shin. Now as I exhale, I'm going to push a little bit firmer with the shoulders straight down to the ground and with the elbows straight down to the ground. Again, maintaining a forward movement through the right foot just to keep the low back flat. None of these movements are so hard that I feel my upper back peel away from the mat or that I can't keep the breath moving. And then relax that left foot down. Keep your hands and shoulders in that shape, but release any activation. Now push down through both feet. Once again, low back is neutral. Take the right leg up. Shin is creating a tabletop. And then I'm going to lift my head, lift my elbows like I did just before. And as I tap my right foot down, I'm going to lift my left. It can come up a little bit higher than the tabletop if you like. And then I'm just going to keep that movement going. So with the head in this position, the arms in this position, and legs creating this movement, I'm activating my core in a functional way that doesn't require me to overload the belly, overload the pelvis, or exacerbate any injury, herniation, and those kinds of things. If the neck starts to fatigue, you just bring the head down and elbows down. But you've got to bring your legs a little bit closer to the belly to maintain a flat back. If you're okay through neck and shoulders, or you just want to intermittently lift up a little bit higher and continue that movement, you can. If you start to feel bearing down, like you're having to push with your belly muscles like you would use the toilet or try to grip into the front of the body, then you just pause the movement, take a rest. You will feel the hip flexors, the quads fatigue a little bit. If they get to the point where they sort of start to tremor, then just pause the movement. Let's try coming into that one more time with the opposite foot. So we'll push into the feet. So my lower back is flat, I've got my neutral spine. And then I'm going to lift up my left leg, breathe in to prepare, lift up my head, lift up my shoulders, and then begin to tap. So you don't have to tap the foot flat, you can just tap your toes if you like, or you can tap the foot flat. Either way is fine. Again, if the neck is really fatiguing, just rest head and shoulders back down, but you've got to scissor your legs in a little bit closer so you're feeling your thighs coming in towards the body as those feet tap. So don't have the legs right out in front with that low back arching away from the ground. If you are not able to breathe, then you're working too hard. Rest the head down, rest the feet down. Let's all take it down now. Feet down, head down, shoulders down. And then making sure your toes are facing straight ahead. Push forward into your heels. Start to lift the hips up off the mat. Just come as deep as it's comfortable for you. You want to tuck your pubic bone under and push into your heels. Not let the low back dip. Okay, so we're really pushing down quite strong into the feet. Check if you're rolling onto the pinky toe sides of the feet or the knees are falling off to the side, and try to maintain that aligned movement. Now take the hands so the palms face one another once again. So they're back in that robot shape, and this will allow the upper body to remain in contact with the ground. Now, if you're not fatigued yet, lift your heels with your glutes, a little bit of a squeeze. And now maintain that forward momentum through your feet as you begin to roll your spine back down towards the mat. Once the hips are down, let the feet relax out in front and let the hands relax out to the side, palms facing up preferably. Inhale deeply. Exhale completely. Okay, so let's move from this position over onto our side. So if you just bring your feet in underneath your knees, lift the hips a little to one side. I'm moving hips to my left, reaching my right arm up, and then using my right arm as a pillow for my head. And I've just got my left hand down in front. Now, you can also use a block underneath your head or something else if you prefer to have your shoulder in a bit of a better position. And I'm stacking my knees and my feet and my torso in a right angled position. I want you to check that both of your knees are exactly one on top of the other. You can use your left hand to feel that if you can't see too well. Otherwise, you can have a look down and eyeball those knees. Now I'm pressing the heel of the left hand gently into the mat to keep this left collarbone drawing away from the midline. Breathe in to commence and exhale. Ribs push down, push straight down into your right knee and lift your left knee. Your top knee lifts up. So you're maintaining downward movement through the outside of your rounded leg, from the pinky toe side of the foot to the knee to the hip, and using your left hand almost in a manner that stops you from rolling onto your belly. And then just let that relax. So you hold your shape and everything sort of switches off here. Then we reactivate. So push with the heel of that left hand to draw that left collarbone away from the midline. We'll push down into the pinky toe side of the right foot. Push down into the outside of that right knee and then lift that left leg. So the lifting of this top leg is in response to the grounding force with the outside of your body. Keep the breath moving. So again, you shouldn't have to really use too much muscle to sort of squeeze the glute or the abs or the back when you use this technique. We're using contralateral forces, which we develop through our neurological development and our musculoskeletal development. Let's relax that left knee back down. Soften, hold your shape, so it's like you're in this shape but you're asleep. And then reactivate, so exhale, push down with the heel of the left hand, push down with the outside of that right knee, lift the left knee up. Try not to lift your knee any higher than the hip. So we don't want to rotate through the back, it's just about the space of one of your kneecaps. Keep the breath moving. My upper body is almost like it's about to roll onto its belly, but I'm stopping that from happening by pressing away through the heel of the left hand. The left collarbone moves away from the chin, and I'm maintaining down and forward movement through the outside of that right leg. And then let that relax. Breathing in deeply. Exhale completely. Lower ribs draw in, push down through the pinky toe side of that outside leg, lifting the left knee up. And this time, I'm going to maintain that downward movement through my grounded side and just lift and lower my lifted leg up and off the knee for a few repetitions until I start to feel a bit of a soreness or pinching sensation through the left hip, glute or hammy. About there, and then I'll let that relax. Now push down through the outside of that right hip, that right knee, pinky toe side of the right foot. Push down hard with the heel of that left hand. We'll lift this left leg, so top leg's going to lift, and then I'm just going to press my heel away by using my glutes. So I've got a nice straight leg, and then my upper body is almost like it wants to roll onto the belly. Again, it's prevented by the heel of my left hand. If you're using a block, just push it out from underneath the head now so you can take your right arm straight up. So both legs are really just doing this movement, like you're trying to do the splits, pushing leg away, but we're resisting right side of the body with the ground, and the left side of the body using the muscular force of our left hip, glute, and low back muscles. Beautiful. Now gently bring that left knee back down on top of the right. You can rest the head again briefly. And then I want you to imagine you're going to roll over onto your belly, but keep your right knee where it is. So push now with that right knee and that left hand to come up to an almost seated position. So I'm maintaining contact with the outside of my right hip, my right knee, and my right ankle. So nothing has changed from this plan position to this position. And as I push away with the heels of the hands, I'm checking that I'm not doing something funky with my wrists or fingers. My index fingers are facing straight ahead from my shoulders. I'm giving the elbows a little bit of a bend. And then creating space through the right side rib cage by simultaneously pushing straight down into the right knee and trying to lift the right side rib cage. You can even turn to look over your right shoulder here if you like. Breathe. And then let that soften. Now still imagine you're about to roll over onto your belly. Roll the right toes. And instead of rolling onto the belly, you roll onto the front of your right knee to come up. Then start to take that right leg straight back. Kick down into the left big toe. Squeeze your right glute to lift your right foot up. And if you feel balanced here, your left arm reaches forward, finding bird dog. Again, check you're not doing anything funky with that right wrist. Index finger knuckle faces straight ahead. Heel of the hand down, index finger knuckle down. If you've got some issues with your wrist, then don't wait there in this way. Just keep both hands down. Now let's bring both knees down, curl the toes a little bit. Just do this little rock and roll of hips towards heels and then back out. And then we're going to take our clam to the opposite side. So lying down on your opposite side. So here I'm going to my left side. You can rest your head down on the inside of your arm. You can use a block underneath the head here to bring your shoulder back into a neutral position. If you're in this position, just try and make sure your shoulder is sort of right underneath you and not half twisted away, okay? As we bring the heel of the right hand down, it'll usually adjust your upper back for you. Now keep your legs in a right angle position. So it's a square-like shape with the thighs to the shins and thighs to the torso. Draw the toes gently up towards the knee. So I'm going to push down with the entire outside of my left hip, ankle, knee. Push down with the heel of the right hand to draw my right collarbone away from the midline and just gently lift the right knee, the top knee up away from the left knee. So you should be able to breathe deeply and not really feel too much at all, unless there's some underlying challenge with your hip. And then let that relax. Breathing in deeply. Exhale completely, ribs gently drawing down and in, pushing down through the pinky toe side of that left leg. Feel like your right collarbone wants to draw away from the midline as you push away through the heel of the right hand, lifting that right knee up, maintaining a steady breath. There's a sense almost like you could roll over onto your belly, but that right knee is stopping you. So your left knee is stopping you, your bottom leg is stopping you, your top arm is stopping you, and we're not letting that top knee shift forward in front of the bottom knee. And then let that relax. So you hold your shape, but stop any sort of activation through the muscles. And then once again, activate through the pinky toe side of your left foot, left knee, left hip. Push away through the heel of the right hand. Draw the right collarbone away from the midline. And then lifting into this clam position. And then see if you can alternate that lifting and lowering movement from the hip without rotating into the low back. Check that there's no tension around the jaw, that you're not clenching. All of that upper body tension transmits through to the lower body. And then you just keep going until you start to feel that heaviness through the hip, and then let it relax. Again, I'm going to push down through the outside of my left leg, maintaining its shape. I'm going to push down through the heel of the right hand, and then I'm going to activate my right glute to straighten my right leg and lift the right leg. And I'm also going to take the block out from underneath my head and reach my left arm forward again. So again, it's like we're trying to keep both legs apart into the splits, but we're not actually changing the shape through the lower body Feel like the upper body is about to roll forward onto your belly, but the heel of the hand stops you. So really the only thing that's changed in the shape is that top leg lifting, and we're still maintaining the same activation through the outside of that left leg. Okay, just let the left leg kind of go wherever it wants to. So your right leg, your top leg, let your top leg go wherever it wants to. Keep pushing down into your bottom knee and imagine you're about to roll onto your belly, push away through the heel of the right hand to lift up onto the outside of that left thigh. Now I'm keeping this downward movement through the outside of this left leg. And then I'm going to feel like I'm lifting my left side rib cage gently away from that right knee, my bottom knee. So this left knee, the bottom knee, your grounded knee, sorry, I'm really getting my lefts and rights mixed up. Your grounded knee is pushing down as you lift the chest. Again, check you're not doing something really funky with your fingers. Try to push the index fingers forward, keep the elbows unlocked, collarbones broad, and perhaps you can look over your left shoulder, continuing to breathe through all the way from shoulders to hips. Wonderful. So just let that relax. Again, don't be confined by the corners of your mat. You just want to roll the front of this left knee down. So I'm going to keep moving my arms so I can roll that left knee onto the mat, which will bring me onto all fours. Then I'll take my left foot straight back. So I'm nice and straight through the back of that left knee and that left hip. And here, if you have no issues with your wrists, you can squeeze your left glute as you keep down strong into your right hip. And then challenge your balance if your left wrist gives you support by taking the opposite arm forward. Don't overextend the back or let the lower back dip. We draw the ribs under and the tailbone under, pushing away through the top of the right shin, out to the side with the right knee, and down and forward through left index finger knuckle. Then both hands to the mat, both knees down. Again, make sure your toes, your heels, your knees and your hips are in a nice straight line. So they're not twisted out to the side in any way. And just a slow drop of hips back towards heels and then forward. And then a slow drop back and then forward. So maintaining the heels so they're pointing straight up. As we drop hips back, sometimes they want to roll out. We're not letting that happen. Again, your range might be minuscule due to injury or surgery or a plethora of things. Just maintain this movement. If you have good range and there's no injury there, take the hips to the heels, but try curling with the tailbone under. So you're rolling and slouching forward a little bit. Breathe open the upper back. Again, if your knees, ankles, and everything else allows, you can unfold the toes and push away through the top of the feet. Maintain this downward movement through your feet like you're almost trying to straighten your leg, keeping knees, ankles, and hips in an aligned position. Push down through those shins. Stop if the knees click, crack, or feel really uncomfortable. Otherwise, take it all the way down. Give the muscles behind the knees a squeeze. Switch them on. And then if you've arranged to come forward into a supported child, stack the fists one on top of the other and rest the head down. I can then let the legs soften once I'm down in this position. But every once in a while, give a squeeze behind the knees and push into your shins like you're about to lift up without actually going anywhere. And then let that soften. Again, give a little bit of a squeeze behind the knees and push down through the front of the shins like you're about to lift up without actually going anywhere. And then let that soften. Take a couple more breaths here with or without that activation. And then we reset the body in its anatomical position by coming to Shavasana. So push up with the heels of the hands, however you can. Begin to make your way over onto your back. Coming all the way down, head down, shoulders down. Press the heels away. Pull the toes back towards the knees. Activate the glutes. And then simply let the legs relax. And then you can keep your palms facing up if you're a little tighter through your shoulders. Palms come in across the ribs and the elbows just out to the sides slightly. Breathe in deeply. Imagine that you're filling the entire envelope of your skin with your breath from toe to top. And as you exhale, dissolving the edges of the skin. Just letting each breath bring you into oneness. As you lie down, just try to witness the breath rather than breathing the breath. So it is that we are the receiver of each breath. Rather than the breather. Inhale peace. Exhale release. Take as long as you like in Shavasana. Otherwise, have a great day. Hariom Tat Sat. Namaste.